Elon Musk finally breaks the drought on his silence about the SpaceX IPO. After 8 years, he's actually talking about it, and what he just said on Twitter is nothing short of exciting. So 8 years ago, Elon sends out an email to his employees basically outlining every single reason why SpaceX should not go public. And yesterday, in fact last night, he replied to an old tweet quoting from that email, basically saying a lot has changed in the past 8 years. So obviously that begs the question, what the hell is going on? Is he taking SpaceX finally public? When this IPO will happen, at which valuation, and how to get shares early today, right now, before this stampede that is going to be the IPO. We all saw what happened RIVN, when the whole crowd goes crazy about one single stock. There's got to be a way to get these shares today, right now, and I'm telling you, there is. I'll tell you exactly how to do this in this video.
In May, millions tuned in to watch NASA and SpaceX make history.
So rises a new era of American spaceflight, and with it the ambitions of a new generation continuing the dream.
The SpaceX initial public offering is going to be the IPO of the decade. It's going to make RIVN look like a fucking grocery store in the neighborhood. It's going to be a complete pandemonium. It's going to be insane. Now, speaking of RIVN, we can use it as a nice benchmark to see what the valuation of SpaceX might be when they actually go public. Because look, RIVN produced 150 vehicles. They're valued at about $100 billion. On the other hand, we have SpaceX with, the space vehicles, the Starship, reusable rockets, all the technology. So based on my super duper financial modeling, they're probably worth like 100 trillion based on what RIVN just did. Now, talking about SpaceX, it's not the most environmentally friendly. I know what you think. There's nothing more environmentally friendly than a bunch of kerosene-powered rockets burning through the sky. I know, but the future of mankind actually depends on space exploration, mining, drilling, tourism, military, defense. A lot of things will move to space in the next 10 to 20 years, and whoever wins that space is going to make a lot of money. And I know a lot of sarcastic people and cynical people will say, well, Elon fans will buy this company regardless of what the financials say. In fact, most of them won't even bother opening the financials, even if they are available. The problem is that they don't understand that financials don't mean jack shit anymore when it comes to Elon Musk. The only thing that matters if Elon tweets about it. You know what? We'll keep it Twilon. I like it. If Twilon tweets about it. If he does, it goes up. If he doesn't, it goes down. Simple as that. And jokes aside, we're talking about a company that's literally going to the moon or even Mars. How can you pass that up? Now, obviously, there are a lot of fundamentals here. They have a great management team. They have the greatest CEO in history. They're pretty much the Michael Jordan of CEOs. This guy is playing NBA level basketball against middle schoolers. It's not even fair. And if you even compare them to who are their competitors, Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic, comparing them to these companies, it's like comparing a Formula One to potato. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And here's the kicker. A lot of investors will completely misunderstand and convolute what this man just said on Twitter, including a lot of so-called smart money idiots. Check this out. I think Elon is taking one company public, but I don't think it's what they're thinking of. Let me explain. So currently, SpaceX still has no reason to go public, no more reasons than 8 years ago. Basically, it has no problem getting funding. You can literally line up the amount of people who want to invest in SpaceX privately right now. There's not enough SpaceX to go around. People literally are fighting for the right to give him money. It's kind of the largest private company in the world right now with a valuation of 100 billion. He has no problem getting funding to keep SpaceX going. And to put this sort of company in the collision course with the board of directors and shareholders trying to handle the money pit that will be traveling to Mars, I think it's going to create a massive headache, especially given the fact he already has one. He has Tesla. It's basically putting in one CEO in charge of two public companies. It's like marrying two naggy wives that constantly on your case, constantly scrutinizing every little thing you say or do. I'm talking about the SEC, of course, not actual women. But basically, the game isn't worth the candle. There's no reason for him still to take SpaceX public. But I think there's another angle here which most people won't understand and we can capitalize on.
In the most remote parts of the US, reliable internet is still hard to come by. 42 million Americans still don't have access to broadband.
This is a 9.5-acre homestead in Idaho, and when we first got here, we had zero cell service. We tried to put boosters at the top, we tried to put boosters at the bottom, we tried to put boosters anywhere we could. We had no cell service, so we really needed some good, reliable internet. And then Starlink came along.
And in case you haven't figured out what I'm talking about, and don't feel bad about it if you didn't, I'm talking about Starlink, a division of SpaceX that's basically designed to provide internet via satellite to anywhere on this God-given Earth, even if you don't have access to broadband. Now, this company is actually doing way better than people anticipated. We're going to talk about that in a second. But what I think is happening here is that 8-year change Elon is alluding to in his tweet is actually with Starlink maturing enough to be spun off out of SpaceX into an IPO. Let me explain. You have to pay attention to his exact words because this man is cryptic as hell. I mean, his cryptic tweets are basically the worst thing that a pizza delivery guy can experience. Imagine taking a pizza order from this guy. Do you want pepperoni with that? Well, a lot has changed since my last order a week ago. Sir, do you want pepperoni or not? I think you already know the answer. It's like, hang up. Now you gotta figure out what the hell this man wants. But it's similar to what just happened on Twitter, but I think I understand what he's talking about. That change he's talking about is actually Starlink maturing into what it is today, a completely independent company, especially given the fact that Elon was already on record multiple times talking about how Starlink is probably going to IPO before SpaceX. In fact, his president, SpaceX president, Gwynne Shotwell, actually went on record saying that they're considering spinning off Starlink from SpaceX a year ago. That's not nothing new. They've been considering this for a long ass time. So the question is, now that we know that's the case, is it worthwhile to even consider Starlink as a potential investment? I'll tell you in a second why I think the reason is an overwhelming yes. Check this out. The first reason is they already have a lot of clients. They're currently servicing 140,000 clients at $100 a pop. I mean, it's a serious business. If they actually open up that closed beta, they're looking at another 700,000 people that have already signed up and shown interest. So there's a lot of potential clients today, about 1 million that want this service. And I know it's not a lot of money. We're just talking about 140,000 clients with $100 a pop. It's not a huge amount of money. And even if you ignore the fact that once they open it up, they can climb to 14, 15 million clients within 3 years. Just ignore that for a second. Just based on what they're making today, it shows me two things. Number one, there is cash flow. It's really, really important that the company gets cash flow. And number two, they have paying clients on a monthly basis, which means this is a feasibility test that proves that their shit actually works. I mean, while it still can't compete with fiber, there's a lot of clients that don't need fiber. They just need broadband access and they can't get it right now. How much? Well, literally, they just tested it out and got 700,000 applications just to test out what's going on. There's a lot of clients dying to get in. The waiting list is all the way up to 2023. There's way more people that they can handle right now. Now imagine with the technology advancements, at some point, I'm sure they'll be able to compete with fiber. It's going to be insane. Now the real question is, what's the valuation? Now based on the current numbers and the current projections, it's probably realistically anywhere from $30 to $50 billion, and that's very generous. But given the cult-like status of Elon and the hype around this company, they're probably going to IPO at anywhere from 80 to 100 billion, and that's definitely way too expensive to get in on the IPO date. If you don't want to RIVN yourself into this deal, you gotta figure out a way to buy these stocks and get exposure to these stocks today. And actually, no way. And most of you would never guess what I'm talking about. Now, the first way is actually to invest in funds that have SpaceX stock, because as you know, Starlink and SpaceX is currently the same company. And even if it spins off, you're gonna get exposure to both. Now, these funds have one flaw. For example, the Scottish Mortgage Investment Trust or the Baillie Gifford US Investment Trust, both have SpaceX shares, but we're talking about 0.8% and 1.5% of their fund being invested in SpaceX. So you're literally buying 99% of things you don't want just for that little 1%. I don't think it's a smart decision to invest so much money just to get a 1% exposure into SpaceX. I think there's a better way. Now, most people don't know this, but back in 2015, SpaceX actually raised $1 billion from Google and Fidelity. So, as of 2015, Google owned about 8.3% of SpaceX, and to my knowledge, They haven't sold any of it. So as crazy as it sounds, it's actually as simple as that. If you buy Google stock today, you're not only getting a value play that has pretty much high growth potential, which is unthinkable, you're also getting about 8.3% stake in SpaceX. Now obviously that has been diluted since, but you're still getting a huge chunk of SpaceX while parking your money in a company like Google, which is basically about to explode. And just to put this out there, if you want exposure to a good Elon Musk company, Tesla is still hella cheap. I mean, I did a video a year ago, here it is, about how Tesla is a $1,500 company when it was $400. Watch this video, check it out, tell me what you think. See you tomorrow. Shout out to everybody.